Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to start working on the frame for our 7.3 build. We're going to get everything stripped off. We got to get the axles off because I sold those, and we got to start drilling holes in preparation for our 05 Plus axle swap. So if you want to see that, stick around. All right, well, here's the frame. Sorry it's windy. It's always windy here. Frame is good to go. We got our cab moved off and forward. Looking a little ghetto here, but that's okay. And we've got some frame going on. You can see here where I've kind of practiced with sandblasting media that I got from my pressure washer. It seems to be working all right. But right now, what I need to start doing is getting these steps off, get these axles out of here, get these tanks dropped, and pretty much everything off this frame, so that we can start stripping it down, and so we have room to drill the holes, or to place our mounts and our buckets to start drilling holes for mounts and buckets. So yeah, I'm gonna start ripping all this stuff off here. Way to get a tank out. Something weird. So the axles are gone now. That's good. The next thing we need to start working on is these coil buckets. So these are going to be for our 05 axle or our 08 axle. But before we can do that, we got to start removing things. So like these bump stops in the way. We got to put these radius arm mounts on. And from everything I've seen and heard, this edge is going to mount right up against our body mount, which means this has to go. So I've marked everything that needs to go. A little bit of pink paint so that I don't forget, because Lord knows I will. But yeah, we're gonna start taking all these brackets off so that we can get all the new brackets on. So the easiest way I've found to get these out would be with a 40 grit flap disc. I basically just grind the heads flat. And for any of these that I can't reach, I'll use the Sawzall there and just cut the heads off flat, which you can kind of see I did with this. So, but I caught the edge a little bit, but it'll be fine. But yeah, you can use the Sawzall to kind of cut them flat, or the grinder to grind them flat. Because if you use a cutoff wheel, it'll like be at an angle and kind of grind into the bracket itself. So yeah. Well, there you go. That's the basic process. So you saw me do the grinder up here, and then I cut off the bottom one with a Sawzall, and then ground it down, and then we were able to pry behind here and kind of get it off. So one thing you want to kind of keep in mind with these is the rivets aren't always straight, and what I mean by that is like the body here, they're not always vertical. So you'll get, because they're hot when they put them in, they can shift a little, but they can kind of conform to holes that aren't perfectly aligned. So you can't just grind one side off and then hammer the rivet all the way through it. You kind of want to pull it off of the side that you ground off of. So if you ground off the back side, the rivets would still be in your piece like this. And if you ground off the front side, they should still be in the frame like you saw that one. Because it's just easier to pull off. They're vertical in the piece that they're in, but to pull them all the way through is few and far between. There's a few that'll do it, and you can just hammer them right out, and they're glorious, but most of them won't, which is why you saw me at the end there grind these down and then hammer them out, and that's because they were offset a little bit. Some of these were fine, some of them came right out, no problem, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. That is the process. It's a pain in the butt, it takes forever. So I guess I'll catch you guys when the other side's done. And we get on to more fun things, hopefully. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep grinding away. Pun intended. So now that we've finished all of that hole drilling, the next thing to do is, you guessed it, drill more holes. So next thing we're going to tackle is this radius mount, which mounts just about right there, which is why we removed our leaf spring bucket before. Bucket mount, I guess. But anyway, this just butts up against that body mount there. And then this is the side we're going to want our gap on against the frame, and then the other side will be nice and tight. So yeah, I'm going to clamp this up, punch some marks and drill some holes. So I'll come back when that's finished. Alright, so with this bracket, basically this hole is already here because you had these three. This hole is this hole. And this has to move forward about 8 inches, which that is pretty much 8 inches. So the new leaf is 8 inches longer this ways, and then I think it's like 1.5 inches longer the other way. But most people just adjust this side, and that's good to go. So next, I'm gonna start working on the coil bucket on the other side. As you can see, we got all of our pink marks taken off, which is why they're pointing at nothing now. So that took me a long time. The next thing I was trying to do was mock up our new cross member here with ZF6, which never originally came in the older truck, so it doesn't have any holes drilled for it. So I got it just kind of sitting here for now. And then I was kind of eyeballing the Bronco frame over there to see like how everything was gonna fit. But I don't know if I trust what I did over there. So what I did was picked up an old block. It needs a hone or a bore, I guess. So it's like our test piece. And then I have this giant transmission here. This thing weighs probably 300-400 pounds, something like that. It's kind of heavy, but I have 2 case halves here. Well, I have more than that because there's a yeah. We'll get to all that in a future video. And then I measured this middle piece here where they bolt to, and we're at about 1 3/4 of an inch. So you can kind of see how that is here. Just right here, boom, boom. I also have all of this hardware that we bought for our axle swap. So that includes 100 washers. So I'm thinking maybe in 4 spots here, we bolt together this transmission with enough washers to make roughly 1 3/4 of an inch. Then we'll take this whole transmission as our empty case, and then we'll bolt it to the back of that 7.3 that has a bad bore, and we can make a substantially lighter mock-up piece. Looks like 19 of these washers puts us pretty much right where we need to be. Or transmission rather, that I can actually hold with some ease. So we're gonna use this. Well, she kind of sits there now. This will help us too to get these bottom holes. In the last video I talked about where this bracket needs to be. So I got this side bolted in tight, and then this side we still haven't drilled the holes for yet. So we're gonna line this back transmission mount up, and then that side will be good to figure out where the holes go. So yeah, let's get this figured out, and then we can drill this cross member, and life will be good. All right, so I think we've got this kind of where we want it to live. I have a bolt in here. I drilled 1 hole so we could get the clamp off that side. And this side is holding this corner down because for some reason this thing likes to bow. Might just be the angle of the mount down there whatever. But yeah, we got it clamped in. So now I'm going to take a little transfer punch deal here and make some marks and start drilling holes. All right, so we got the cross member all installed now with all of our bolts all drilled up. We're going to finish that. I'm going to head and did these as well. So this guy's in here nice and tight. I don't think I'm going to worry about adding any material here to like make a hole to bolt to. We still do need a clearance this for our nuts to be able to fit. So this came off of a 2008, and in 2008 they changed a couple things with your coil setup on the Super Duty. And one of those things is this has like a divot in it. Can't really see because it's dirty, but yeah, you can see it there. So it just pops out. I think it's like a 1/2 inch-ish, 1/4 inch. So what people do is put a 1/2 inch piece of plate steel here, and then just drill a hole that accommodates this, and you're kind of good to go. But what I'm gonna do, because I don't have 1/2 inch plate steel, and I kind of want these holes to line up a little better in the frame, because if you can imagine moving your frame this way a 1/2 inch, now these holes are kind of on the edge. So instead of trying to deal with all of that mess, what I decided to do was drill it out. All right, so it's 1.125 inches, 1.25 would probably be better. Harbor Freight didn't have that, so you can kind of see it leaves a little to be desired, but you can kind of clean that up with a grinder, which we're gonna need to do anyway. So I opted for this method. I do have 2 sets of coil buckets, so if this becomes an issue, so pretty much I have a trial period. I can do this, and if it doesn't work, I have another set. One thing you might consider is just getting 05, 06, or 07 coil buckets, because they don't have that bump. They're just completely flat, and then you would have essentially what I'm about to do. The only difference is there's an extra hole here, so there's like these two are a little closer together, and then there's one up here. And this one I don't think hits the frame, so that's like really the only difference. I opted for this method just because, like I said, I didn't really have any steel, so. All right, so I've decided to screw with this fitment arm bracket later because it doesn't really fit in there, so I think I'm gonna have to order one that's purpose built, or make my own, I guess. That'll probably be a lot cheaper, but I don't know if we trust my welding skills that much. Anyway, it's time to get this kind of in place so we can kind of figure out where we need to cut. So the easiest way I found to do that is if we set it up here, and then add some of these clamps. And then one more key thing that we can't forget is that there's a measurement from here to here. It needs to be 13.5 inches. And that's just where they need to be. So somehow I nailed that first try. Yeah, so that's gonna be good. Now we can kind of figure out where we need to cut for our rivets. So. Well, this is how she's looking for now. I'd say don't waste your time drilling this hole because it's inside of this pocket and you can't access it from down here. Yeah, didn't know that. On this side, that's a hole you might as well not drill, or maybe drill it smaller and tap it, but just don't even bother. Still need a bolt for that. We only got one under here. I think I'm gonna drill another one back here somewhere, but that'll be a little bit later. But you can kind of see what we had to do here to clearance this, and then this hole here for where that's where this was. So if you want to keep that just clearance here, I removed it because I'm gonna have to remove it eventually to get the arm mount here installed. So this will have to come off too, I believe. But yeah, so we're gonna have to cut off a little bit more of this in the future, probably up to here somewhere. I'll make it look good. But I think that kind of concludes what we're doing here. You can see I got everything kind of mocked up, looking pretty much how it needs to look. So you got your coil in here, your radius arm, and then our rear leafs also fit. So one thing you have to do with these is drill out these holes. So I keep the OBS bracket here. You have to drill this out to 11/16, and then this front one you have to drill out to 13/16. I tried a little bit smaller, it didn't really work. So yeah, those are the sizes you need. But yeah, everything fits, it's working good. You can kind of compare to like how this looks in here. So that's like flat, straight up and down. This has no pressure on it. So it should work. We'll see once we get weight on it, I guess. Yeah, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. I just barely cleared that one. And on this side too. Doesn't even touch it. And originally, when I cut this hole, I was gonna weld this in here to the frame, but I don't think I'm gonna do that now because it gives me an option now that I can go back or change my mind and put the plate in there if I need to, or go to like a set of 06 style buckets if I wanted to. And if I weld this on here, this would be much harder to do. So for now, I think I'll just keep it there. If I do change it in the future and put a plate behind it, I'll be able to weld this to the plate and then drill my holes, and it'll be a whole thing. So, all right, so two more things I kind of forgot to go over was this steering gear situation. So I got the holes drilled, got a drill 9/16 drill bit, fits perfect. And then I put the original bolts in, and they were a little short. So I went to like a local tractor and equipment place, and they had some, and these are M14x2. 2 is the thread pitch, and these are 150 millimeters long. So you can see that it just barely clears. I would say if I was gonna do it again, probably 140, 135 would be pretty solid. But yeah, there's some pretty long dudes. Yeah, like I said, maybe a little shorter, but we didn't hit anything with any of them. So another thing is this transfer case skid plate. The old holes were here and here, and all I did was put the front of it in the rear hole, and I used my Super Duty over there as a reference, and pretty much I couldn't stick my hand through the Super Duty one. Like, it was a little bit tighter. So we're saying like maybe a 1/2 inch difference here between this and where it's supposed to be, but that saved me from drilling 2 more holes. Made it a touch easier, so I just lined it up, drilled some holes back here, and it's good to go. All right, everyone, that's all I got for this video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned a little bit about how to pull apart these frames and prep for an 05 Plus Super Duty axle swap. So something that I didn't get until later on in the project that I should have had from the beginning was a proper set of drill bits. So I had a normal set of cobalt bits, but I was stepping up like every other drill bit, and it takes forever. So towards the end, which I should have done at the beginning, I got some, I think these are 3/16. Yeah, I grabbed some 3/16 bits that I could just chuck in my impact because they were impact rated. So I'd drill a pilot hole with that, and then I'd come behind it with a stepper bit. And this last one's a 1/2 inch, which is what I was drilling all of my holes to. So this tip fits into the 3/16 real nice, and then you just send it all the way through to the 1/2 inch, and it works incredibly well. Should have done that from the beginning. Would have saved me a ton of time and a ton of sunburn out there in the sun all day. But yeah, if you guys are doing that, that's something I would recommend. But yeah, I think we're well on our way to making this work. We got the cross member where it needs to be, and everything's looking pretty good. So next video, we should start doing some painting and hopefully make this thing look brand new again. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below. I hope you guys liked it, and we'll see you in the next one.